Welcome into the Yard Dogs podcast, a show for the fans, by the fans. This is season 4, episode 120. I'm your host, Jason Hand. The Yard Dogs podcast is brought to you by Network 216. To check out all of our Ohio sports content, subscribe to our Network 216 YouTube channel. And joining me tonight, my co-hosts, my partners in crime, Mikey P and Ian Cold Train Cold Iron, and a special guest. Season 4, episode 1 of season 4. We have special guest from 92.3 The Fan, the one and only Ken Carman. Gentlemen, how we doing tonight?
This is season 1, episode 1 of season 4?
Yes.
This is the season premiere?
Season premiere, man.
Yes, sir.
All your guys' backgrounds look a hell of a lot better than mine. I'm getting ready to remodel after I get back from Disney. Your guys are way better than mine. Mine looks like hell. Your guys are really nice.
Dude, yours looks like you're about to be an artist, Ken. Is that all your kids' artwork, man? That's awesome.
He's like, I want to put them up behind you. I go, you knock yourself out, man. That's going to be a exit wall coming up here in a few months.
Awesome.
So, yeah, knock yourself out, brother. Go right on ahead. And he said, okay, fine.
Wow. Well, thanks for joining us, Ken. All of us are family, man. We're all husbands. We have wives, all 4 of us. And I imagine we all eat dinner on Sunday night at the dinner table. I got a question, not for you, Mikey P, not you, because you already know the answer to this, but for Ken and Coltrane, what does dollop mean? And if you need me to spell it, I will. Dollop. What is that?
Dollop is like do a little dollop of daisy, where you take like a spoonful and you smack it down on something. What's the matter? Why?
And you can.
Does that matter? Does that mean something?
No, it just means I'm a dumbass. That's what it means. Well, okay, so we're eating dinner. We have chicken, we have mashed potatoes, and my daughter asked my wife. She goes, "Can I have some mashed potatoes?" And my wife goes, "Well, how much do you want?" She goes, "A dollop." And I looked at her. I'm like, "What the hell is a dollop?" And I knew I made an immediate mistake because they all just looked at me and started laughing. So I have 13-year-old twin daughters and my wife, whom I respect, and she respects me. But they laughed at me, and I swore up and down. I said, "I guarantee you, if you ask 10 people, 8 of them won't know what dollop means."
The sour cream commercial for Daisy sour cream.
Yeah, there you go.
You take a big spoon, you get a scoop, and but you can't just put it on because that was just a spoonful. If you flick it on the plate, then that's a dollop. It has to be flicked, then it's a dollop.
Wow. Okay. Coltrane, are you with me, bro?
I'm in the same boat. Remember, I'm Cleveland area like Ken, so I think we're getting the same commercials coming in because I would have said the same damn thing. Yeah, I have no idea what it is, but when Daisy comes on, it's a dollop for Daisy, man. 100%. We're watching the same commercials. I don't know what they got going on in Virginia, man, but we're in the same area. Me and Ken, so
well, he asked me too, and I was like, "Yeah, it's like." I said it's like a small amount. I was like, a smidge or a small amount, dollop. That's what it means.
Okay. Well, anyway, let's go ahead and move on. This did not go the way that I thought it would be. I thought maybe I'd have somebody in the same boat, but that's okay.
Sorry,
Ken Carman, we love your show. As we said pre-show, Mikey P and I live in Virginia, so we definitely appreciate the Odyssey app. Obviously, the Cleveland Airways don't go as far as we are in Virginia, so we appreciate your morning show with Anthony Lima. Mikey P, you have a question for Ken Carman. I want you to go ahead and kick this off.
Yeah, I always wonder when you guys are hosting your morning show, like how tough is it when the Browns schedule comes out and you see Monday night and Thursday night games? Like how tough is that next day?
As far as what, like just having to wake up and do it?
Yeah, having to stay up for the game and you got to get up and do show prep.
Mondays are a little bit Monday's a little bit difficult. Actually, no, they're harder now just because I got the other thing going too. But they used to be where you go home, you do the show and you go home and take a nap. And I'm used to not sleeping anyway. So it's not that difficult. So you just go home I try not to sleep. I'm different from a lot of morning show hosts, depending on, sports, news, music, doesn't matter. A lot of them like to go home and take naps. I don't. I feel like you're always chasing sleep.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like my day is just more, hey, you're up, and that's the way it goes. every now and then I'll zone out and kind of nod off for 20 minutes. But I really don't like to do, like, I know Jen Tui, who is the host of the music station across the hallway, and she's been doing it a long time. She's been doing mornings a long time, and I love her. She will go home, and I mean, she will put on pajamas, and she will put on a sleep mask, and she will go back to bed. And she will go back to bed for a few hours and wake back up in the if she gets home at 11:30, she'll do it at noon. She'll wake up at 3 p.m. I mean,
wow, that's
her thing. And I just feel like you're sleeping in shifts. It just doesn't work for me. You know, that's just not my thing. So when it comes to like nighttime games, I don't know, sleeping 3 hours, 4 hours, it never really mattered that much. Waking up is kind of a bear. It's kind of tough. But once you're up, you're up. So it's not as difficult. The only thing I'll tell you what does suck. The odd thing is Monday night is not that bad. Thursday night, not that bad. Especially they usually win. They've done very well on Thursday nights. Boy, that's a great way to start the weekend. Holy cow! I had a wedding one time. I had to do a wedding for my buddy who's since been divorced, of course. And I did his wedding, and they won on Thursday night. And then I did his wedding. I mean, it was just a great weekend. The worst is Sunday night. Sunday night is terrible because you literally wait all day for Sunday night, and you got to wait till 4:00 for your pregame show to start, and you are just sitting there, and then it's another 4 hours, so it's the whole day of games, and then your game is on, and it sucks the life out of you. It really does. So of the days that I mean, even if I didn't do this, I think I would dread Sunday night as a fan. I really would.
Oh, I hate it.
I wouldn't want the Browns to play on a Sunday night. As much as I thought, like, when we were really bad and when it was like, okay, now we're going to play on a Sunday night, they played that Rams game that Sunday night. And I still remember just how much of a bear that day was. And I know there will be more Sunday nights ahead, I'm sure, but that's the rough one. Everything else is fine. Everything else is fine for me.
Coltrane remembers that Sunday night game.
Yeah, I actually got engaged. I got engaged at Brown Stadium that night, Ken. The only thing that sucked, obviously, was the Browns lost, but everything else went
Where did
perfect.
you propose at?
You know, where they give you like they gave us not necessarily press pass, but like a field pass where they let you stand right there by the Browns, like right behind the Browns bench where they would be if they were like right there. Right on the side. I mean, pretty much the sideline. Like I did it right in like the end zone area. It was like the left end zone left. But
did they put the cameras on you?
Believe it or not, no. But I got probably Browns fans are the best. I probably got 100 DMs, video, photos, you name it. I mean, people were watching like it was an audience, man. So yeah, it's
that's nice.
After the show, Ken, or just sometime when you're free, you have to look me up, Browns fan 593, and I got the whole engagement process, everything, man. So it was like I said, it was out of all the games I could have picked. I got it through my season ticket guide. You know, when I was a season ticket member, out of all the games I picked, obviously that Rams Sunday night looked amazing to me, and like I said, man, it's just unfortunate. I wish we would have had the team we have, last year or this year, in that game. But it was an awesome night, man. So yeah, it's funny you mentioned.
How long you been? So when did you get married?
A year after that, during COVID. So
goodness,
we were one of the people that it was either put it off, risk getting like screwed by all them vendors, or just bite the bullet, risk. I think we lost about 15, 20 people off the wedding invitation. That's going to happen. People just don't,
Yeah.
But pretty much 15 people and pulled it off. Everything. The only thing that we had to do was because of DeWine's little rule, we had to cut it like 11 o'clock instead of midnight. That was really the only difference. We all balled out, and all balled out, and it was a great time. And it was something, definitely a night to remember. But yeah, man, it's funny you mentioned that game, that Rams game. Obviously, I'll never forget it. So.
And Clay Matthews getting inducted in the Ring of Honor. That was a memorable game, man.
Memorable day for sure.
Yes. Yep.
Typical Browns, though, Ken. Right? Browns didn't win on my engagement, right?
Well, if he would have hit Jarvis Landry, you would have been fine, and it would have been a night. Well, obviously, it was a night to remember. It would have been a great night to remember. Right underneath the post, if he would have hit Jarvis, everything would have been okay. I had a friend. So my friend who set me and my wife up. I'll tell this quick. My friend who set me and my wife up. Her friend was dating. Liz's friend was dating my best buddy, and this is before they all got together. Her friend was dating a guy right out of college at Youngstown State, right? And he got the cameras at the Indians game for an engagement.
Oh,
and she had to say yes because she did not want to marry this guy. And so she tells the story now. They're not married. I mean, they did not go down the aisle or anything like that. But she was saying they'll tell the story there. She's texting my wife going, "What am I going to do? I don't want to marry this guy. He does not treat me well. He is not a good dude, and he trapped me into this thing. And now it's this." And it's like, no. You don't have to say yes to anything. Almost said, brother, you don't have to say yes to any of that stuff. So for a second, it's like, that could be a bit of a trap. But here you are, 2020. So what, 3 years? You're going on 3 years?
Yeah.
That's nice. Very nice. Very nice.
I mean, as a Browns diehard fan, man, I think a lot of men, especially on Twitter, like the post of the video, just because it's for any sports fan, really. I feel like if you're a football fan and it was like a guy's proposal. Like it was my idea. I always had it. And it just to get it on the field and just the hype around the game with the music going. I mean, it just for a guy, I think that's probably one of the better options you can pick versus like the Eiffel Tower or something like, you know what I mean? That's something specific to Clevelanders and like I said, it was. Still thank the Browns. Hats off to them. They did a real good job of letting me on the field and doing all that. So
that's real.
They do good things for the fans. So I do appreciate, even though obviously I would want more wins. I do appreciate the things that they do for the fans. So
very nice, brother. Very nice. Very nice.
Well, we do have some Browns questions, but before we do, I do have one other question about your radio show. Do you ever get nervous? Before you go live on air, do you ever have thoughts like, man, I really don't want to do this today, or are you just nervous for any reason?
Only after a loss.
Yeah,
I've been nervous for that show. I haven't been very nervous in a very long time, but only after big losses. I'm nervous for next year already, because we got a lot of people where. We had a conversation today whether or not we'd still make the trade. And, I'm uncomfortable with a lot of the stuff that was surrounding, but at the same time, I would still make the trade. And I think that, from a football sense, everything that's happened since has said why I would make the trade. And I haven't blamed the Browns for making the trade. But at the same time, I go back to that moment. And I think I thought we had a much better team and a much deeper team than what we had. And here we are a year later, and I think we're making up for mistakes. I'm having a big fight over Juan Thornhill, and none of it's tongue in cheek. I mean, I didn't realize people didn't know who Juan Thornhill was. I was just gobsmacked earlier last week when people were calling us up saying, "Ken, I didn't know who he was." I'm going, I thought we knew who the hell these players were. So I'm a little bit surprised by that. But when they have losses and you're angry and you got to take the gloves off, I get nervous. I get nervous because I still, after all these years, I don't like people being upset. I don't like fans being upset. And I know that this is going to sound like a line. It's not. I want people to be happy, and for whatever reason they blame us or they'll blame me for their unhappiness with the Browns. And I'll say, well, if it were up to me, they'd win every game and everything would be fine. So that part sucks. And so there's big games where, boy, they lose. And I just know that I'm going to be loud and I'm going to be angry, and it's going to be about 6:03 when I'm going to lose my temper on that. And I don't like doing that. I don't like doing it. And we had that. I mean, the game they went to Denver and they lost, and Baker Mayfield shaved his face a few times. I mean, that was as embarrassing as a game as I've ever seen. There were other games, obviously, that have been taken into account on that, but that part of you loses some of your innocence when you have a game like that, and you have to go after something like that. But there's games when they just lose where those are the ones that get nervous just because you say things you want them to win, and there are fans who are cynical fans and they love it. There are fans who claim they're Browns fans and they love it when they lose, so they can go after you about it. And I just know that the next day is.
Man, I'm on the edge of my seat here.
For the most part, we didn't lose me, did I? We still good?
Yeah, we lost you for like a second.
Okay, sorry about that. I told you my computer's been messing up. I don't know what the hell's going on. For the most part, I don't get nervous before shows.
You had said that you'd stated that you're a little nervous for this year. What about this coming year, this coming season? Are you nervous about?
Week 1, I'm really nervous for week 1 because, when I talked to Nathan, and Nathan had said, he goes, well, Deshaun's really never really great his first start of the season because he went after the Houston game and said, well, you look historically, he's never really that good. And I go, great, we have all our eggs in our basket for this year, and now we're going to get ready for week 1. And I have no idea who they're playing week 1. And so if he goes out there and he sucks up the room talking about Deshaun, we're going to be in a lot of trouble for fans. And I already know it is. I'm going to go, well, they're going to say week 1 and I'm going to get called. I'm going to be told I'm carrying water for the team, and I'm going to be told I'm being a shill for the team. And I'm just going to be trying to be understanding for what's going on here. So that part scares me a little bit. So these are things that I think about constantly in the back of my mind.
Yeah, last year the first part of the schedule was on paper easy, even though it didn't turn out that way. This year it'd probably be the opposite. We'll probably get lined up with the 49ers. We play the 49ers, right out the gate at home. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the first game, or maybe a divisional game like the Steelers or the Ravens or the Bengals. I could see something like that happen. But I hear you, Ken. I mean, one of the things that's important this year is to get off to a fast start. We can't start off 2-4 or 3-6. I mean, we got to come out of the gates running. So that first game is definitely important to set the tone for the entire year.
Well, my biggest fear is repeating history. I don't want to go back to 2018. My thought was, I don't like to fire coaches, and I don't like to call for firing coaches. I think that's too easy on what we do. And I know those are dream jobs. And I think if people en masse were telling me that I need to be fired from my dream job, I think I'd be pretty upset about something like that. So I'm very careful about it. I know they get paid a hell of a lot more than me to deal with that pressure. That all being said, my fear is that we get halfway through the year, and you're talking about a 3-6. You get to a 3-6 record after 9 weeks. I don't know if he's still going to be here for week 10. And that's terrifying to me. I don't want to go down this wasted year route again. And when they hired Jim Schwartz, the first thing that people were saying, oh, he's got head coaching experience.
Yeah.
And I go, man, I don't like hearing that. I don't like talking about it. I don't want to do that. Like, let's see. Hey, the record is what the record is. Last year, they were 7-10 last year. They were 8-9 the year before. I'm not going to sit there and lie to anybody and sugarcoat anything. They are what they are. But I want to give it a full year, and I want to try to get it a full year. And to get it a full year, they got to be good. They got to be decent enough where they're not losing their minds and getting upset and firing anybody. Because if you fire them in the middle of the year, then you're trying to sell your product to another head coach, to another possible head coach, and who knows what type of nut job they could hire there. I mean, I've heard Jim Harbaugh, and I've heard all types of things. So I don't want to go back to 2018 and do with Hugh, where it was, hey, if we're going to make a move, we make a move right now, because I don't want to have to wait until halfway through this year and then possibly hire the wrong guy, which is what ended up happening for 2018, getting ready for 2019, and that ended up being a disaster for everybody.
Well, I'm a big fan of Kevin Stefanski. I really believe that he's going to morph into a good head football coach. You talked about the head coaches, Jim Schwartz. I really like. I want your opinion on this. I like the moves that they made with our coaching staff. The first thing they did was they let Joe Woods go. Everybody saw that was writing on the wall. That was just going to happen. They bring in Jim Schwartz, which I'm a big fan of. I think he's going to do wonders for our defense. And not only that, but I think it's going to help out Kevin Stefanski as well. So that way he can focus on the offense because he's a great offensive mind. I think a lot of people would agree with that. And then with special teams, it kind of came out of nowhere. Mike Prefer's out the door and Bubba Ventrone is in. A lot of fans like that hire, but I'm curious, what did you think about what the Browns did as far as revamping their coaching staff?
Well, I didn't think it came out of nowhere, and the only thing I'll say for that is that Stefanski never seemed to give a full endorsement when asked about Mike Prefer. And so there was always a thought in the back of my mind and Anthony's mind that something might be here. But and we had asked Jason Lloyd about it, and Jason said, "Nah, I ain't got nothing to worry about." I go, Jason, I think there might be something there. We ended up being right about that. Not that we were enjoying being right about that, because again, you don't want people fired, because fans get excited about firings. I always look at it in a different way. When you fire somebody, it means that something failed. Okay, there was a failure there. And so when we're all excited that Joe Woods got fired, and Joe Woods, it wasn't working. I can't make it. I'm not making a defense for Joe Woods, but it meant that was a failure. Mm-hmm. So now I bring in Jim Schwartz. Jim Schwartz is good with the defensive line. He's good with his schemes. I've looked at it now where I try not to get that excited about coordinators anymore, but I think that he's going to be able to help out. Is he going to be able to cast a wand over these guys and make them all, is all of a sudden Jordan Kanashik going to be Harry Carson? I don't think he's going to be that way. But we'll see what these guys end up becoming. We'll see what happens with the defensive line. They should be better in that case. But I think that for what the changes they made, it took some realism here that for Kevin Stefanski, he wants to call plays. He wants to call his offense. He needs guys that he can trust to call his defense. And as the season went on, you could tell it was more and more apparent that he had to spend time with his defense. Joe Woods simplified things. I think he was under pressure to simplify things. We saw that Grant Delpit played better with that simplified defense. And I'm not taking a swing at Grant Delpit here, but you saw over the final 8 games, Grant, where things were simplified, was a much better player. Okay? And that's the way they do things at LSU. They don't try to goof it up and do things like that, get crazy with it. They just try to simplify it. So I was happy with what happened there. We'll see what happens with Jim Schwartz on this. So the moves that were made, they were needed moves that need to be made. And then the other ones that had come in afterwards, those also seem to be needed moves that need to be made. So I'm encouraged, but also I'm hesitant because, we have a guy in the head coach who's under a gun right now. He's got to take a swing at the playoffs here. His general manager needs to make sure that he takes a swing at the playoffs here to make sure that they're able to get to it would be a year 5 for both of them. So they're able to get to a year 5 for either one of those guys.
I still think it's amazing that, and also sad at the same time, that First Energy Stadium has never hosted a playoff game. We got to get that done soon.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I was happy to just be in the playoffs a couple years ago. Lyman and I were talking about it on the phone before tomorrow's show. Let me ask you guys something here. I want to go a little bit longer with you, if that's okay.
No, it's good.
That's fine.
Do you guys hold any ill will at all anymore towards Baker Mayfield? I want to start with Jason if I can, and then I want to go around to you guys. Jason?
I don't. I mean, as a Browns fan, he's given me some of the best years that I can remember since the 80s. I don't really remember the 80s all that well. So he's given me a lot of joy as a Browns fan there. I think the injury played a big part in him not being here anymore. But at the same time, I'm totally at peace with him. He's in Tampa now. I wish him the very best. I want him to succeed. I'm a Baker fan. I know that there's been people calling people Baker Bros. I guess you can call me that, but I'm more of I'm a fan that supports my team. So Baker Mayfield was a Browns fan. I supported him up until towards the end, it was just hard to defend that any longer. And I was glad that the decision they made to release him and bring in Deshaun Watson. But yes, I was a Baker Mayfield fan, and I believed in him. I really thought that he would be hoisting the Lombardi trophy over his head when it was all said and done. I really believed that, and it didn't happen, and that's sad. But that's where I'm at.
Coltrane, let me ask you. Go ahead.
I'm a little bit different, Ken, so hopefully I don't piss you off, man. I've been to a few away games. I've spent thousands and thousands of dollars traveling. I think during Baker's tenure, me and my wife's record of wins was like, I want to say 1-5. And it just sucks, dude, when you put that money into it and like you go to the game and like, week after week, I'm convincing myself, because that's how we were doing this. I was convincing myself, no, this guy's going to shake off the roster. Maybe he played 2 bad games in a row. Oh, Baker's going to do his thing, though. Baker's going to score 2-3 touchdowns, going to go off on the Ravens. And maybe I chose the wrong games to go to. I went to a lot of our division rivals. And I guess for me as a fan, maybe I'm biased to all 3 of you. I love a quarterback that can beat in the division. Like I want Watson so bad to be that guy, just like I wanted Baker, just like I wanted all the guys before him. I want that guy to be able to just, go into Pittsburgh, F the Steelers. I know how much these fans have been through, and just throws 3-4 touchdowns down their throats. It's a knight in shining armor type stuff. Baker never did that for me. Every year. Now, the playoff year, of course, I enjoyed, like any fan. But then the year after that, I don't know what went on with that injury. I don't know whose fault it is, but just like you were talking about earlier on the show, Ken, where it was a washed year. I felt like that year was just such a waste of a year, dude. It was just like, if you were hurt, then you should just sat out. Maybe we had a better chance with the other guy. It just, do I have ill will at this moment? I'm getting better. Like as he's like out of my life, I'm getting better as a fan. I'm not one of these weirdos that's like still like got my middle fingers up to Baker. But during his tenure here, did I have ill will, especially that last year he was here? Yeah, man, I was ready to see him go. I was definitely 100% ready to see Baker go. But that's just me.
Mikey.
For me, it's a little different because I run a Browns backers chapter club here in Virginia. And the experience draft night, when we drafted Baker, people were ecstatic. They were excited. And then that Jets game, when he came in and brought us back and we won that game, like the fact that there were people hugging and crying when they won that game that night at our club, because we had, 2016 and 2017 were just so brutal. And I thought that was like, we're going to turn it around. They played better that back half of the year. And then 2019 happened and we ran 2019. A lot of people forget that game against the Titans. We moved methodically down the field. Like after they scored, I'm like, we're going to the freaking Super Bowl. Like this team is ready to go. Then we ended up getting blown out and it just kind of went off the rails. And then Baker was just up and down. And then I got mad at some point at him, but I don't think I have ill will towards him now. Like at my older age, I'm starting to get to the point where it's like, I wish you the best, but it just didn't work out for you here. But I'm just ready to win. That's
I think it's Jason's pro, okay, Coltrane's against, and you're somewhere in the middle, Mike. I mean, and I think that's what you're getting with a lot of what happens with Baker is that we were listening when Lyman and I were on the phone. We were listening to the afternoon show, and there was a lot of responses and stuff about, well, people are still obsessed with Baker. I think if you're still obsessed, quote unquote, if people are still obsessed with Baker, I think they're getting it all wrong, man. That war is over. It is over.
I agree.
Unless he goes out and he throws if he throws for 5,000 yards for Tampa Bay this year, then I guess we'll dig up that body and we'll do it. It's over. It's over.
I agree.
And I look at it and go, we all want to like. This is going to be a loose comparison. Aaron Rodgers is getting his way out of Green Bay. And we had Ty Dunn on the CBS show yesterday, and I asked Ty, how do they make amends with Aaron Rodgers and make this thing okay? Because you don't want to bring this guy back, and he's going to be a Hall of Famer. Let's be cool with each other here. Let's not be jerks. And to a much lower level, like with what Green Bay did with Brett Favre and what they're going to eventually do with Aaron Rodgers. he still won a playoff game, no matter what I want to say. And I can say that Pittsburgh handed him the playoff game, and I saw the lack-ass effort of the snap over the head and everything like that. Still won a playoff game. And so I think the human nature is still to want to be liked and to like other people. I still think it's that way. And I think when we all put down our swords here in 10 years ago, he did win a playoff game. And that was a while since we had won a playoff game before that. We can take positivity because I think that he's probably, for Baker Mayfield, I think he's a means to an end for Tampa Bay. I think it's more like Caleb Williams is going to be there next year, or Drake May is going to be there next year, or one of the other ones, because someone's going to rise to the top there as well in that draft that we're not talking about right now. And I think he's more of a means to an end. But say he does well, whatever. It doesn't matter. The Browns' problems right now, I got a quarterback that you're paying a lot of money to. They gave up 3 first-round picks to, who was in his own head over the final 6 games of the season. I got a running back that, hey, I know I want to hold on to him this year, but next year is going to be an entirely different story. I got a defensive end that right now is going into, 7 years in, all of a sudden you blink. And I mean, this guy is a veteran now. And I got to get this guy to the postseason here because you drafted him number 1 overall. You went 1-31 over a period of time to draft these 2 players. One of them's already gone. The other one's here, who is obviously visibly frustrated because he's not put in the Defensive Player of the Year category because his team is not above 500 the way that other teams are. So you got to get your ducks in an order before we're ever worried about anything going on with Baker Mayfield right now. And so that was one of the things that was bothering me as I'm listening to callers with Nick and Dustin's still coming back from Nashville right now, and listening to Nick this afternoon on the fan going, he means a big deal to us in our past. It was a big deal. There's no doubt about it. He moved heaven and earth for a lot of fans. But Baker's in the past. I got to look to the future. No matter what I might think or what fans might think about certain players on the football team, it doesn't matter. You got to get this thing going because if you don't, people don't understand what's going to happen if this team does not approach. Like if they get to, I'll tell you this, if they get to not, Lyman and I were talking about this. I'm giving away what we're going to talk about on the show tomorrow or even the day after. If they go 9-8, if they go 9-8 and they don't make the playoffs, I think that could spell some bad things for some people in charge. But if they go 9-8, I can look at it and go, well, coaching wasn't very good. That means the quarterback was decent still, though, possibly. I could talk myself into some good things. I can. We'll see how it works out. Now, these are best laid plans, obviously, and we could all be laughing about this because this is best case scenario, right? But we could look at it and go, 9-8, we might have ourselves the pick of the litter here when it comes to coaches and other things like that. Or it could end up being a mess. But let's go best case scenario. 9-8, that looks good. But if this thing doesn't go well, there's questions about your quarterback and how much you're paying him, which money's money. But the picks, another first-round draft pick that you're going to have to sit there and watch go by. Miles isn't going to be happy.
Nope.
Nick's not going to be happy. I can't imagine a lot of other players are going to be happy. I mean, there's going to be, and you're going to have if you have another general manager who comes into this thing, they're going to have their own ideas. And that's always been the problem here since 1999 is we've had new general managers come in and they've had the best of intentions. There's been some good men who've been the general manager of this football team, but they've all wanted to reinvent the wheel in their own way. And so now they're going to come in and they're going to go, what's Myles Garrett won for us? What's Nick Chubb won for us? And all of a sudden, you're starting to restock, and all of a sudden, Deshaun starts looking around and goes, this looks a hell of a lot like the Houston Texans all of a sudden. That's a terrifying scenario. I'm not trying to scare anybody here. I know we're pressed for time. I'm not trying to scare anybody here, but that's what's at stake here for this football team. I mean, it's an exciting year because it's like, hey, we got real. This is not 2016 and 17 where it's like, all right, let's see what the hell they do. Deshaun Kaiser, whatever. It's fine, no big deal. Cody Kessler, who cares? This is real pressure that's on this football team. But what comes with that pressure, you go, holy Chautauqua, there's a lot of pressure on these guys, and we'll figure out what's going on here. So it's not a question that's figured out right now. You know, the draft's coming up. What do they do at 42? Do they move that pick? There's moves that they can make, but the scariest thing about this is that what was so unsettling to me is that they just did not have as much depth as we thought they did. They got some stars. There's gold in them there hills, but damn it, there's gold in a lot of teams' rosters. And we looked at them and go, you lost it. You lost to New Orleans. Why'd you lose to New Orleans? Well, you dropped the ball in the fourth quarter and you should have been able to score that. And I don't give a damn. That fourth down and 10, whatever it was, that he got sacked on, that Watson got sacked on, that's because he lost trust in his guys. He didn't think they were going to catch the ball. And that was on the wide receivers. I think that sack was on the wide receivers and not being able to catch the ball, and David Njoku if we're going to throw him in the mix. But you lost that game, and you find out you lose that game against New Orleans because you don't have the depth. You just don't have the depth. And they make silly play calls and things like that, whatever. But you don't have the depth. And that stuff isn't fixed in 1 year. So your guys are going to have to step up and play well. So it's going to be a pressure-packed season for these guys.
For me last year, I think what scared the crap out of me, Mikey P, we were at this game. There was a couple games last year where they just did not show up. They just didn't show up. And we went to the Patriots game, and that was one of them. Terrible. Horrible game. Had a great time in Cleveland, but the game absolutely was horrible. I think that's what Jim Schwartz is going to add to our defense is toughness. He had mentioned the words accountability in his press conference. I'm excited about Jim Schwartz and what he's going to bring to our defense as far as mindset, because that's part of it. Coltrane, you just said a little while ago, you wish Baker Mayfield would have been a quarterback that would go to our AFC North rivals and just stick it to them. You know, part of that is grit, having grit and mean toughness, and our defense just didn't have that. And part of it was scheme, part of it was players, but part of it was just, I don't know, man. It just looked like they just showed up and played football. I don't know, but hopefully this year, it'll be different. We did sign some free agents. Ken, what is your overall? I mean, what's your overall grade on what we've added to this defense? I mean, we've added a bunch of defensive tackles. We obviously need to add a wide receiver, but what are your overall thoughts of what Andrew Berry has done so far?
Well, Dalvin Tomlinson is a guy I really like. Now, I know we talked a lot about Draymond Jones. We talked a lot about Javon Hargrave, and those are really good football players. Hargrave's he's an outstanding football player, and he should be really good. But what they did is they addressed some of their problems here. It's going to take more than 1 year to address a depth problem. I mean, you have defensive tackle needs depth. You need a rotation because you're going through 3 downs, and secondary needs depth because you're going through a rotation. You're going to have dime defenses. You're going to have nickel defenses there. I mean, and you're going to have injuries. So that's going to make things difficult as well. So you're dealing with 2 big depth positions and good God, linebacker. I mean, you got to a point where it was just laughable. and for all the things that we could say about Joe Woods, I mean, my phone is fine to play linebacker at some point other than what they had. I mean, there was nothing they could do. I mean, everybody got hurt. So that part I did for as much as we could take away from Joe Woods, and I don't need to make any defense for him. What's gone is gone. He was old Mother Hubbard by the end of the year when it came to linebacker. But you need depth in those 3 positions just on defense in general. And you didn't have any. You just didn't have any. And so that takes more than one off season. So I made a short answer long, and I apologize. I'll say they addressed defensive tackle. They're addressing a little bit linebacker. I got to tell you, I don't like the whole letting Anthony Walker talk to other teams. And the reason behind that is that this is going to be flimsy to some, but that's okay. He was on a 1-year deal 2 years ago, and he's the one talking every week. He's on a 1-year deal last year, and before the injury, he was the one that was set to talk again every week. So where's your leadership coming from? That's something that kind of startles me there going, come on, you got guys who are veterans. You got guys who are draft picks, who are supposed to be long-term pieces of this defense. They should be the ones that are giving the answer for the defense every week. But Anthony plays a leadership position, so I can understand the back end of that, or the fight back on that. I can. So I worry about that. We'll see, if he can get a good deal. God bless him. Anthony Walker's a hell of a guy, and he was always a good interview. And if he goes on to greener pastures, and I wish him well. I really do. He's a fine player and a fine man. But I worry about our depth on that defense. But I also say that Jim Schwartz is a fine coach. But it's the same thing I say about Bill Callahan. These guys are not wizards.
Correct.
They can't just cast spells over players and in turn. I said it today to myself when I was going back and forth with my buddy Chops on Twitter. I go, you can't just take Drew Forbes and turn him into Russ Grimm if you trade Wyatt Teller.
Correct.
Okay, you can get Bill Callahan can get the best Drew Forbes that he can get. He can do that. He's got the best Wyatt Teller that he can get, but he can't take these guys and turn him. He's not going to turn him into John Hanna. And that's what fans just expect because we don't pay that close of attention to offensive line. So we go, just trade an offensive lineman. Bill Callahan will take care of it. It's like, whoa. But what we said about free agency, solid. I give it a solid B+ because it wasn't like they ignored their problems. And we'll see if these guys come out in the wash. Tristan Hill, I hear up and down things about him. We'll see. No big deal. If he makes it, not or not. Maurice Hurst, he's been banged up the last 2 years, seriously injured. He was good before he got hurt. If he doesn't get hurt, it'd be fantastic. I mean, you look at what they did a couple of years ago.
With Malik Jackson.
Yeah, they got Malik McDowell. Who else did they get from the Eagles?
Malik Jackson. It was the two Maliks.
Thank you very much. Yes, thank you. I mean, they got some nice pickups there at defensive tackle. So I'll give Barry credit where it's due. I know a lot of people want to dump all over him. I like Andrew Barry as a man, and I like him. I like him fair enough as a football guy. We'll see if this works out. So if they can make this thing work, that'll be okay. Because I still want to know, and I still wonder, is this the way that things are going to be in the NFL, where teams are just going to line up and run on you? Or is this something that is a wave? Or do you still need to stop the quarterback? You know, we had Seth Walter on the station in the afternoon, I think last Thursday. And Seth Walter said, guys, you still need to stop the quarterback. You're still going to need secondary players. And we'll see whether or not it's true, because that's the beauty of the NFL. And that's what makes football so much fun. Once you think you got it figured out, someone finds something in on the back door and gets you. Mm-hmm. And then we have to start all over again. And then we get mad as fans because the general manager and the coach didn't get ready for it.
Oh, I remember when you only ran dime or nickel on third down. Like, it was unheard of. They're running on first down.
And then you looked at college defenses, like nobody wants to come out of nickel. Nobody wants to come out of dime. No one wants to do. I mean, good God, you looked at a base 50 defense. That's what you did. And now it's like, well, now you got to play what it is. And now it would still be that way in college. But you look at the pros, and I'm thinking, well, you guys are going to keep those. You guys want to keep like what the Chargers did with Anthony Lynn. You guys want to keep 7 defensive backs? All right, we'll run on you. We'll just keep the ball in our hands, and we'll win 21-14, and that'll be the end of the football game. Mm-hmm. And that's what these teams did to the Browns last year.
We know you got to go. We're up against that. I do have one other question. The Browns, okay, it's been on Browns Twitter. The Browns need to add a veteran wide receiver. That's the feeling of the Browns fans. Some of our rumored choices have fallen off the board. They're no longer available. Do you think the Browns will sign a wide receiver via free agency, trade? Do you think OBJ could be part of the mix? I mean, I'm seeing him. I don't know about your guys' Twitter feed. It's all over mine.
I've never seen. So all the insiders and all the reporters say it's a possibility, and I think it's because the Browns are saying it's a possibility, and I think it's because maybe OBJ's people are saying it's a possibility, and I'm not denying any of them. Any of the insiders, I got nothing against the insiders, and say what you want to about Mary Kay. I love her dearly. I love her family. I've never seen Browns fans as a collective fart on an idea, whether it be online, whether it be in real life, at a bar, in a post office, at work, in school, no matter what, and bringing back OBJ. I mean, so over last weekend, this was last weekend, it was, hey, they're really interested in OBJ. And I go, well, thanks for the content. We'll see how this goes. So I brought it up, and I mean, guys, nothing. Phones, nothing. fans don't believe it because you know why? It ain't worth believing.
No.
Because you guys know this. We had, who was it? No, I was talking to Pony on the way home today. People, who was the guy who said that he made sense for the Steelers? I forget who the hell it was. Some national guy said that OBJ made sense for the Steelers. And Pony asked me about it, and I said the same thing I've said on air, that you guys know this. If you lose 27-24, you can go into a locker room and say, man, that sucks. I can't believe we lost 27-24. This is a real pisser. And we need to get better here, here, and here. But damn it, next week is another opportunity, and we'll get better next week. And that's on me. And we'll check out the tape, and we'll just be better. And we instead of 6-4, we're 6-5, and we got another opportunity coming up back at home next week against the Lions. That's the way it goes. With OBJ, 27-24 is never just 27-24. It's never just a loss. It's never just a loss. It's always something more. It's always this big dramatic thing. And the Giants know that, and we know that, and the Rams never needed to know that because everything was going so well with the Rams, and they just slid right on by and won the Super Bowl, and he was on his way to being the Super Bowl MVP before that all happened. So the Rams got the best version possible of OBJ. And I'm saying that as an OBJ fan. I wanted to draft him that year. I wanted him bad. We took Justin Gilbert, so I still would have been right. But I wanted OBJ badly. And you can go check. I know we were bought by a different company because we used to be CBS, and now we're Odyssey. But if you can find those articles, go look for them because I wanted Odell Beckham Jr. And I'll be damned if anybody tells me different. And I know what he is, and I don't think that he's
the crazy X. That's what he is.
Yeah.
It didn't help that the Browns showed up to his workout. Like, I think that's what really started everything.
Yeah.
When that came out.
We're doing our due diligence.
Yeah. Do your due diligence on Twitter like I do.
I don't know if that was. I have no idea what it was. I mean, you bandy these ideas about on air. And I go, was it to stick it to Baker? Like, what was it? What was this? I mean, Andrew Berry got, and it's just money for Amari Cooper. He got Amari Cooper for a song. I mean, a fifth round pick and money. Who cares about the money? And I go, you let OBJ walk. You let him go for nothing. His dad had a video made of all the misses. And I know that some of the stuff I blamed on OBJ was not OBJ's fault. And I feel bad about that as a radio guy, but it's just no. And fans think it's silly. And they don't, I'm telling you guys, they don't even call because it's not worth it. If they do sign him, that's going to be a different story. They don't care. They don't believe that that's going to happen. They don't believe it's realistic. I've never seen anything where, like, I remember when OBJ was first talking about, we were talking about trading for the guy. And there were fans going, stop wasting fans' time talking about this. We got nasty emails. You guys are wasting our time. I'm turning off your radio station. And we're going, we're only talking about what we're hearing. This is a realistic thing. And I did want OBJ, and I did want to speak it into existence, so you can blame me, and I'm sorry. But now it's just like, no, I'm not going to waste their time. I'm not going to waste fans' time. We're not going to do this again. This is silly because a loss is never just a loss with OBJ. It's a traumatic thing that turns into this monstrosity that runs off a bridge and into a river, and you can't figure out where it went wrong. As far as veterans go, people called me Cole Hardman, mid-Cole Hardman. I don't mind me Cole Hardman. I know you got Jakeem Grant, but I've never thought of him as much as a receiver. I think it could end up being, guys, right now, could end up being DPJ as your number 2 and then developing the other guys because I got a quarterback who gave up 3 first-round picks for. He's got to start to turn guys into weapons sometime, doesn't he?
I mean, this has got to be Anthony Schwartz's last hurrah.
Yeah,
this is his last camp. This is his last camp. Either show up and play well, or that's it.
I think they're big. I think this is typical Barry, Ken. They're going to be leaning on that Bell guy. I think Barry believes in his draft picks, and I think Bell, like everyone's like
I love
forgets
Bell.
about that dude. We
I
wasted
love
a pick
Bell.
on him. Like
I don't forget Bell.
Bell's a beast, dude. Bell's from Purdue. He was
came
breaking
on.
records over there.
He came on as the season went on last year. He had that knee injury in OTAs last season. I think it set him back in training camp a little bit.
Yeah. You're not going to
We'll
give
see.
that rookie that many opportunities. Like all these Browns fans, they expected him to go for like 1,010 TDs.
Yeah.
Your rookie year is never like that. That's where like the fans just get that confused. Like Bell, I thought actually sparked out pretty well for the opportunities he had.
Yeah,
I thought he did a decent job.
I think we just don't know, Coach. I don't know if we know exactly what we expect from him. I know what we want, but I don't know if we know what we expect from him. I mean, you look at everybody who picks in the NFL, and they look at what the league is, or what the AFC is, I should say. And I don't think a lot of people are picking the Browns to be a division winner or even a playoff team, maybe a wild card team. And so I'm going, okay, well, if we were a Super Bowl team, if it were, what sits between us and a Super Bowl? A wide receiver. Make the pick. Make the trade. Let's do this. I don't think they're saying that, and I don't think the Browns are saying that right now. But they know they need to make the playoffs. Can you make the playoffs with your quarterback playing better than what he did last year?
Absolutely.
With the wide receivers you have right now, plus maybe a second-round pick that isn't a mess?
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason I've been pounding the table. And I just hit the table there because I just do that it's not even for effect. It's become a thing. I never want to hear the term flyer again, because when they took Anthony Schwartz, well, it's a flyer. It's a third-round pick. What do you mean it's a flyer? It's a third-round pick. We can never. And now all of a sudden we're sitting there going, I can't believe he took him that far ahead of Amon-Ra.
The kid from Detroit was still available.
Bro, they even said
St. Brown.
They said, I'll never forget it, on national TV when we drafted him, they were like, and we got a project, guys. We got a project. It's like, dude.
From Auburn. He doesn't even run a pro-style offense.
I go, who could they have taken? And on Friday, people were going, St. Brown. Lions are going, we could have him? Holy God. So, yeah, that's what you
see. And the thing about it is, I mean, we got some guys on the roster. We got some wide receivers, but we just don't know enough about them because they haven't seen the field that much, whether it be from injury or what have you. But we've heard that Kevin Stefanski is going to change the offense to where they're passing more. They're going to run less, which Nick Chubb fans don't like to hear that, but that's what's going to happen. So with that game plan, you just have to think, well, it's either a guy that's on the roster that we just don't know about, and they're going to step up, or they're going to bring somebody in, or both. I guess
I think it would be a free agent, and I still wouldn't put it past them to figure out what they want to do as far as the draft is concerned. But they do like David Bell. I know they like David Bell. You ain't wrong about what you said about David Bell down there. I'm telling you right now. They like David.
Drop balls.
And I like David too. He doesn't. You're right. So we'll see what they do.
Well, Ken Carman, this was absolutely fantastic. Can I just say that I appreciate you? I really do. Mikey P, I know you're the same. Coltrane, you live in Ohio, so I don't know if his airwaves hit you, but before the Odyssey app, and let me back up. Before Twitter, I had no idea who Ken Carman was. And then I get into Twitter. Well, I get into Twitter. I'm like, and everybody's talking about Ken Carman. I'm like, who's Ken Carman? I don't live in Cleveland. I don't know. But Twitter has exposed me to you guys like you and Anthony Lima. And then the Odyssey app came out, and that was just a game changer because I listened to the Odyssey app and Cleveland Sports Radio all the time. I don't even listen. I don't even know what's going on where I live. So I appreciate you, man. You're the voice of reason. I tune in whether we win or whether we lose, and you just make me feel better no matter what happens. So you make me feel better. But definitely I appreciate you coming on the show, man.
Hey, it means a lot. I didn't mean to talk your guys' ear off there. You guys just got me going on some of the theories, and it's a big year, man. It's
one quick question before you go, though.
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to know, though, if we make the playoffs this year, is your Christmas tree going to survive?
I threw the whole one away. The only reason I set that Christmas tree on fire is because I knew it was going to be thrown away anyway. The lights don't work on these things. I got one good Christmas tree. The other ones are terrible. We put 4 Christmas trees up in this house. And so you think about the amount of money we piss away, where one is okay and the other 3 are garbage. No, I take that back because we have a white one that we put up in our room. So that one's okay. So we got 2 trees that end up having to be thrown out every year. And so when they made the playoffs, I go, well, I'm going to put this thing to good use. And people don't realize the amount of black smoke that comes off that thing. I'm going, like, when I set that thing on fire, I'm going, holy Jesus, someone's going to set a fire department. This is unbelievable here. Like, it was bad. It was real bad. But no, that's the beauty of living in the streets, bro. Coltrane, where do you live?
I'm Columbus now, man. I grew up in Cleveland my whole life. I lived there till I was about 34 years old, and then I met my wife, and now I'm in Cebus, Ohio State land.
Beautiful. What are you in Columbus proper, or are you in a suburb?
I'm Galena, right outside by Polaris Parkway. If you've been through Polaris. Okay,
yeah, I've been there. Yeah. So are you? Go ahead.
I'm 10 minutes from that IKEA. So if you and your wife ever go to IKEA, just hit up the Coltrane. We'll meet you up for some Swedish meatballs, buddy.
Well, now I'm going to have to go to IKEA now that you said that. So, Mikey and Jason, are you guys from here?
No, I'm from Arizona.
My dad. Wow. My dad is from the Falls.
Okay. Portage County is it's pretty rural, but it's still kind of close. Like I'm in the northwest end of Portage County, like the upper corner, right where Summit and Cuyahoga County meet.
Okay.
And so I'm right up in that area, and they're just good Streetsboro people, man. Those like in Almost Famous, just good Topeka people, man. And so if I were still living in some of the other places I've lived at in this area, definitely the fire department or the cops would have came. But yeah, I set trees on fire and they don't seem to care. They don't bother me too much. But I'm imagining at some point here, I want to get that thing covered up because we don't have a lot of fires back there. I usually just use that pit to set things on fire, and then I got to clean it all up. Like I've set desks on fire back there. Yeah, I've not set. People don't realize how much of a pain in the ass it is to set a couch on fire. To do it properly. I mean, you can set a couch on fire in the street in college and just leave it there and let anybody else take care of it. But if it's on your property, it is a pain because you burn a couch twice. If I can explain this to you, I'm keeping you guys. You set it on fire, it burns all the stuff that you sit on, and then then the wood burns. And then you take apart all the metal and stuff like that.
Too much.
Throw the metal
too
away.
Much.
Yeah, you don't want people stepping on the metal, but I've kept you too long. So
Well, if it's okay, if you could post that Christmas tree video once a year, maybe around Christmas time.
The last couple of years, it makes me feel bad. The Steelers fans start ripping me for going, you're going to set stuff on fire. I go, no, I'm not gonna.
I mean, the lights are still hooked to the damn tree. You're dragging it out of the house is beautiful.
Can't be good for the environment. So I kind of feel bad about that. Didn't think about it because all that plastic and electric. But yeah, what are you gonna do?
But it was fun.
Yeah, yes. It was a hell of. I had a blast. I did have a blast doing it.
Well,
thank you guys.
Thank you so much for coming on the show, audience. You know him, Ken Carman. Tune in 92.3 The Fan every morning at 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Right?
Thank you guys very much. I appreciate you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Go Browns. Go Browns.
Go Browns. Thank you very much.
Go Browns, baby.
And that was Ken Carman. What did you guys think about that, man? I mean, he brought some nuggets for sure.
He did. He had some stuff like I've been thinking about, but it hasn't like come out, and it got me thinking. There's also some stuff that like I am cautiously optimistic about this year, but at the end of the day, like I've seen these Twitter fans go crazy about who we've signed, who we haven't signed. At the end of the day, we won't know anything until the season unfolds. Like I can't get mad on March 20th about a game that's 6 months away because I can tell you from personal experience, I played on a baseball team once that we had 3 of our top players got transferred to other schools, and everybody was like, "Oh, you guys are going to stink. It's going to be no good." We were actually halfway damn decent that year, like because we believed in ourselves. And sometimes like changes in the coaching, I think Schwartz will make some differences and make us better. Is he going to fix everybody on the defense? No. Can Bill Callahan fix everybody on the offensive line? No, he always can't. Like even Jeb Wills struggles at times still.
But they will be prepared. They'll be prepared.
But I think we'll be more prepared. You're going to see a more focused team this year. I think Deshaun's definitely going to be more focused going into the season. I think other guys are going to know they're on, like, they're going to know that they're playing for their jobs. And they're going to know that because there are players that have to look at this and go, they know if this season isn't playoffs or bust, like, they may not be in this league much longer. And you start realizing that. And sometimes that kicks that, was it the fight or flight kind of mentality. So I think you're going to see some guys, they're either going to step up or, we're going to be talking about the part we don't like talking about, which is what Ken talked about, with the firings and changes. Nobody ever wants to see anybody lose their job. At the end of the day, I wish still that who was our very first coach that Carmen, who was the first coach we ever had in 1999? I can't remember his name.
Chris.
Chris was his name.
Yeah.
If I had it my way, he'd still be our coach, and we would have had a great career under him. Like I don't like seeing guys get fired ever or changes like that, but it's a part of the game, unfortunately, and part of the business. But it's gonna be an interesting year, but we're gonna have fun too.
Chris Palmer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with Mikey though. A lot of good insight from Ken. Very approachable guy. I mean, Jesus, it was like he was one of the yard dogs himself on it, with us every week. So that's I guess when you're in the yard, you're blending in with everybody and having good stuff. But a lot of good feedback from him. He's giving me a little bit of anxiety though. I'm not gonna lie. Like once he started, talking about the the firings and all that, the 8 and 9. I don't even want to think about that. I'm with you. Mikey and Jason, I see all these negativity on with the fans on Twitter talking about receivers, all that. Guys, it's March, baby. Some of these guys, I heard a tidbit today. AJ Brown, dudes like that, they weren't even traded till draft night. So it's like until we actually see the draft card of who, after the 3 full days, let's see how the roster is going to shape up. There's still time to add a free agent here and there. Like, I'm with you, Mikey. Like, I'm not even going to think twice about the season until we're about week 8 or week 9 in, and we're either 7 and let's say 6 and 2, or we're 4 and 4. That's quite the difference. But there's still a lot of hope, and I'm a week by week guy, as you guys know on the show. Like, wait a minute, guys. Like, you're counting us out because we haven't signed a receiver where we have months and months to take care of that before the start of the season. So I'm with you, Mikey. I'm hopeful, man. I think we have the right pieces in place. I think the roster is, I'm not going to say it's a complete deal yet. It's shaping up right now to give me light, give me hope. This roster will fill out in the next month or so, including the draft. And Barry and them are going to do their thing, man. Let's just hope. And that's one thing Ken and all of us didn't really mention when he was on is everyone's talking about coaches and, the coaching and the GM and all this stuff, or Haslam's, whatever. We'll find out how good Barry is at changing the roster around this season. This is it. He's going to put all his eggs in the basket. Is Barry truly a good GM where he can build a roster to win us these games? That's also on the table as well. So to be continued. There's no, like I said, unfortunately for these Browns, they're negative right now. You won't even know that till week 11, week 12, if these free agents even pan out. So let's relax a little bit, man. Good things are coming.
Awesome. We got to land this plane. We didn't do any ad reads at all. Thank you to our sponsors, Homage, Underdog Fantasy, Bet Stamp. We'll do a double read next week, okay? We're sorry about that. We are definitely up against it. The Barking Brown Show is coming up next. Tune in next week as Coltrane's going to do his punishment with the one-chip challenge, and Mikey P and myself are going to give him some interview questions. So we'll have to answer those questions while he's devouring that one-chip challenge. So tune in next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Tuesday nights, 7 p.m. Until then, we like to end all of our podcasts with the Go Browns. So Mikey P, Coltrane, if you'll join me on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Go Browns. See you next week.